think we can also look into some of monitoring techniques so that that will give us a complete picture of the distress identification, evaluation, and monitoring. That is the synopsis of my presentation. So we can start with what is a geotechnical distress. So here, when I say a geotechnical distress, this basically relates to the physical deterioration of a element. I have put that as a structure, but it is in a strict sense, it can be anything that is on the soil. It can be a pipeline, or it can be a bridge, or it can be a building. Um, and this deterioration can happen over a period of time, or it can be a function of the environmental conditions. So essentially, the failure in the soil manifests itself on the structure which is being put up on the soil. So that is what we call as a geotechnical distress. So I have shown you some classic examples of pavement failures, because they are the visualization is more elaborate in these cases. So you can see these elements that are failing here. You can see these failures. And these have happened because of the failure in the ground. So what causes these failures? So and how do these failures actually post themselves? So they can happen through like minimal cracks in the slab, or you can observe large monolithic, there can be cracks in the wall from the floor to ceiling. At the plinth level, you can observe some cracks which are basically because of the heaving in the soil, or because of the expansion in the soil. And in the floor slab, you can observe some distress. This cracks can be also due to the change in the moisture content. They can manifest themselves on the wall, or you can see column buckling, and then the pipelines that are damaged, or the pavements that are like surfaced with a lot of cracks. So this is how soil failures will manifest themselves in the structure that they are bearing. So I have shown these features here. You can see how the cracks manifest themselves on a slab, in a floor, in a wall. And then you can see a damaged pipeline. You can see the distress in the column and the cracks at the plinth level, and a variety of distress in the pavement structures. There are a large variety of failures that happen because of the failure in the ground. So I think that if we categorize them into some classes, look at how these failures will manifest them and what causes them, that will give us a better understanding. So let us look at the type of structure, how this distress is visualized in the structure, and what are the causes. So now the first category is the building and bridges. So if you look at the building and bridges, most of the distress is in the form of cracks, and then you can observe tilt, and the last stage is where it collapses. So the cause can be because of the lack in the structural design or structural failure. That is not a scope within today's lecture. But what we are going to concentrate is, if these failures happen because of geotechnical reasons, why should they happen? So now the first reason is settlement. So as far as geotechnical design is concerned, the cardinal principle is that the soil should not, for any safe substructure, the soil should not fail by shear, and also the settlement should be contained within the permissible limits. So settlements can cause these kinds of distresses like cracks in the building, particularly differential settlements, and also heaving or uplift in the soil. So what do we mean by heaving or uplift in the soil? So now here, whenever you have an expansive soil or soil that is prone to more volume change, let us say that you have a light structure that is housed on an isolated footing like this. Now, when there is expansion, let us say that we have an expansive clay. So now If there is going to be a change in the water table, let us say that water table is going to move up because of monsoon or whatever reason it is, then this soil is subjected to a volume change. It starts to expand or increase in volume, which causes a pressure on this substructure. Okay, so now what happens is that because of this pressure that is coming on the substructure, actually we see there is some small change in the position of this structure. Okay, so that has happened because of heaving of the soil, or the pressure has sort of pushed up the element. So this can cause tilt. This can also cause large width cracks in the building, particularly where there are openings. We have the door or window opening, so you can observe the cracks in those areas. And whenever there are vibrations, so when I say vibrations, they can be due to earthquakes, they can also be due to anthropogenic activities like pile driving, or for some other machine shops that are adjacent to the structure. So these can also cause failures like tills, or they can manifest themselves in the formation of cracks. And then excessive loading. So suddenly there is unprecedented load that has not been anticipated during the design stage, that can also cause these kinds of distresses. Another thing is erosion. This is one of the very important causes for a foundation failure. See, now most of the time what we see here is that soil is going to transfer the load. The foundation is going to transfer the load to the soil in the form of a truncated core. If you have a granular soil, this distribution is going to be some 2:1. If it is a clay soil, usually the dispersion angle is 30 degrees. But whatever the case, we are going to have this load dispersion in the form of a truncated core. So now you see here, as the depth increases, the stresses decreases because of the load coming from the structure. So this is going to be the load coming. So the stresses are increasing. Suppose due to erosion, there is some loss of material here. This material is washed away. So obviously what is happening, this